Welcome, everybody, to the Gil Hodges Freedom Podcast. I've got John T. Long with me today, and very, very powerful story of transformation that I want him to share with you today. And we're going to jump right in. So if you're watching this, share it, tell your friends. It's going to be a great opportunity to inspire a lot of people. So, John, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on here. And I would like you to just, if you wouldn't mind, taking a minute or two and share a little bit about who you are and maybe a little bit about your story, and or we can dive into that later. But just who are you today? What do you do? And then let's jump into your story.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor being here, Gil. It was great meeting you up at Jenny's too.
Yeah,
Uh, Had a good time up there.
it was.
Um, yeah, I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama,
Okay.
and I've lived in uh, New Orleans, Louisiana for a short period when I was 6 years old to 12 years old, and then we moved back to Birmingham. And I stayed here in Birmingham. Well, I stayed in Birmingham until graduated from University of Alabama in 1981. Um,
Yeah.
Degree in American Studies and minored in English and sociology. Basically, it was you kind of pick and choose what courses you take. It was
Right.
pretty good. Then I moved out to Houston, Texas, and got a job as a claims adjuster, Continental Insurance. Did that for about 4 years, moved up to Bryan, College Station, Texas, got laid off with that company, moved back to Birmingham. Sorry, I had a phone call coming in. And then got a job at another insurance company and moved to Montgomery.
Yeah.
And was working out of my home as a resident adjuster, which I look back on that, it kind of gave me discipline, because I wasn't going to an office or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, and then I decided to go to law school down in Montgomery.
Okay.
Um, that was back in 1995-ish.
Yeah.
And I graduated from law school in 1996, took the bar in February of 96, I believe, and passed it by 1 point. And my mother at the time said, I wouldn't tell anybody that. And I said, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm a lawyer no matter what. So, and I was real positive that I did good on it. And that I passed. I think that probably had something to do with it. Like gave me an extra point, because thoughts are things. So,
Right.
never
Yeah.
know.
So now, what about your spiritual journey along the way? Um,
Yeah. Well, back when I was a teenager, I read Many Lives, Many Masters. So I've always been believed in reincarnation,
okay.
right? And so I was delving into the quote unquote new age stuff back then. I'm meditating on my chakras, the energy centers in our body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I was kind of like a pothead, I smoked pot pretty much all the time, except when I was in school. But other than that, and not a big drinker. And so eventually, back in 1999, I got arrested for possession of crack cocaine, and
Oh.
the bar sent me to treatment. And So I relapsed one time after about 4 months, but um, when I got out of treatment, my then wife had moved. We were living in a double wide mobile home, basically like animals,
Mm.
drinking and doing drugs. And so when I get out of treatment, she had moved in with her sister into the middle of a car junkyard in downtown Centerville, Alabama.
Okay.
And so when I get out of treatment, I moved into a single wide mobile home in the middle of a car junkyard. There was 8 of us living in that mobile home. My 2 kids, her kid, not her kid, her sister's husband, and her kid, and a baby.
Wow.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, so I was getting sober. This was back in 2000. November 15th of 2000 was my original sobriety date. And so that was really the beginning of my spiritual journey when I got sober, basically. I mean, really, focusing on working on myself, working through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we
Yeah.
get into argument one night, and she said, "Get out." I said, "What?" She goes, "Get out." I said, "You're throwing me out of your sister's trailer?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "After all I've done for you, this is what it's come down to." So I got thrown out of a junkyard. That's how far I had to go.
Wow.
But I was 60 days sober when I got thrown out of the junkyard, and me and my kids, I had 2 black plastic garbage bags of our clothes. That's all I had to my name because I lost everything smoking crack.
Wow.
And, the bar, I was on disability status with the bar, so I wasn't practicing law.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I just, I got a job working at selling cars, so I was selling cars slash attorney. Nobody believed a word I said because I was a used car salesman and attorney.
Oh, wow.
That's a joke. I actually did pretty good. Pulled a hat trick one day. I sold 3 cars in one day. So I did that for a year and got my license back and just started practicing law again back in probably early 2002.
Yeah.
And I've been going ever since, from there up until probably a few years ago. I've just been just consuming knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of slowed down now. I'm living and experiencing everything I've learned. So
Okay.
I'm
Now,
trying to.
well, and the humility I think is a big part of us actually becoming authentic and getting down to who we really are and living life. Now you've written a book, right?
Yeah,
What?
2 books.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the books and what's in those.
Yeah, so my first book is kind of like my memoirs. So I have my spiritual journey in there, intertwined with prayers and meditations. Um, really what got me early on too is have you ever watched the movie What the Bleep? Do you know What the Bleep?
I don't think I have.
It's called What the Bleep, and
Yeah.
it's about quantum physics for dummies, basically.
Okay.
And it's a great movie. And so after I watched that movie, my son got me to watch it, and I was walking in the Galleria one day, and I walked out into the food court, and all of a sudden, every time just started slow down, and I was looking around like this, real slow, and it was filled with these high school people. They were all wearing white shirts and black pants. So it
Hmm.
was just kind of surreal. But I was walking, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw these two kids throwing a super ball back and forth. Right,
Yeah.
super ball, when it bounces, it goes, it really takes off.
Yeah.
And so I was just walking. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and all of a sudden my hand went out like that, and I caught the super ball because one of the kids had missed it. I mean, this was all me walking all in one motion, and I looked at it, and I looked at them, and so, it was all in slow motion, and I threw it back to them, and they were probably going, "Wow, who is this guy?" But that was just a time shift, for me, and you know, kind of told me we're kind of in a simulation. I see that now. But
Hmm.
anyway, so there's stories like that in there. I met Wayne Dyer. Have you ever heard of Wayne Dyer?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of books. He's no longer alive, but he was a great spiritual teacher, um, and played golf with James Redfield. You know him, the Celestine Prophecy.
Right.
So
Right.
all these synchronicities were happening. I was about 5 years sober, and I'd broken up with this girl, and it was like, my really first dark night of the soul, right? So,
Yeah.
and I've had a lot of those. I've had a lot of those in sobriety, and
Yeah.
usually have to do with a relationship.
Wow. Hmm.
And so, and I was working on myself all that time. I was staying in a state of prayer. I was meditating an hour a day, every day, on my chakras, bringing the energy in. This is all in the book, right?
Yeah.
And there's a chakra meditation in the book that's really good.
Now, did you
Um,
learn this yourself, or did you pick this up
it's
from
all
others?
self-taught, self-taught.
Okay. Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
so, what is the name of the book, and where would people get it?
yeah. It's the Book of John, not the
Okay.
one in the Bible. Identify, delete, and reprogram a new subconscious mind. It's on Amazon. It's fixing to come out in Audible.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and there's a it's on Amazon.
So, what are some of the principles that you share and teach in the book?
Um, well, I mean, it's just my story. So it's got everything that I've done over the past 30 years to raise my frequency, my vibration.
Yeah.
It's full of prayers, meditations, intertwined with personal stories. Um, you'll be laughing, you'll be crying, you'll be saying, "Oh my God," a lot. Like, how is this guy still alive? I mean, I've been through wrecks. I mean, it's just incredible. I've probably lived about at least 10 lifetimes in this one life.
Wow. Wow. So, with what you've learned, I'm just curious, what are some of the main things you would share or, teach somebody, maybe a young person who's kind of just starting to get started in life? What would be some of the things you would, share with them or teach them or direct them? What direction would you give them?
Well, I would really advise that you start doing prayers and meditations, especially the chakra meditations, because that's bringing energy into your body. That's our spiritual energy system.
Yeah.
So, I would recommend that. And it's everybody's got their own journey. Go to the bookstore, and I mean, I went to the bookstore one time just, looking for something to read, and I walked directly to the New Age section, and I picked up Conversations with God
Oh, yeah.
and took it to the counter and paid for it. And I'm thinking like, how did that happen? You know, but that
Yeah.
was just, and that was a profound book for me.
Yeah.
Um, you
Well,
know,
and it is interesting, like you said, everyone's got their own journey. Everyone should have their own journey. And there are people that, like yourself, that just read and gain knowledge and read and, just any way you can bring in knowledge that way. And I used to kind of be that way, but about 7 or 8 years ago, I just felt like God, source, just said to me, stop reading, stop watching videos. Now, for the most part, there's a time or
yeah,
two here or there where I feel like, I'm prompted to read something or to watch something. But for the most part, I ignore probably 95% of everything people send to me, just because what 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 God was saying was, why would you want to go get things secondhand? Why not get
right,
them directly from me? And so everything, pretty much everything I share is stuff I've got from downloads. And then the beautiful part of that is the confirmations that I get when I share what I'm getting, and people say, "Oh, so and so's teaching that," or somebody else is sharing that. It's like, yeah, God's sharing this all over the place. It's just who's listening and willing to pick it up and share it. But I would rather get mine straight from source. I think it's a beautiful,
yeah,
for me, that's the beautiful life. That's the beautiful journey. But for others, it may very well be, collecting that information and then kind of assimilating it and bringing it down into something that they teach, and it becomes theirs because they're teaching it in their way that they would like to say it or the way they understand it.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and my belief is there's the religious notion that there's some God sitting on a throne with a white beard, white hair, and a beard, and
Yeah.
got a lamb on one side and a goat on it. I just never believed in that. So my experience and belief has mostly been formed by my experience, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what my second book is about. Um, there's a higher part of me, right? A spirit, a spiritual being, and I kind of relate it to Avatar.
Yeah.
Is in a different dimension, higher part of me,
Right.
being of
Right.
light, however you want to call it. And he's focused his attention into this human body because he wants to experience what it feels like to be happy, to be sad, to eat, to drink, to be merry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He wants to
Yeah.
experience all that through me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's what he wants to experience, not
Right.
what not as a human. So
Yeah.
he's in control. If he wants to experience what it's like to have cancer, I'm gonna get cancer. I mean, that's just an example, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's all about the experience.
Well, and you know what? This is interesting. Okay, so I really thrive and I get excited when I can talk with people like yourself, where we can just get into conversation and we can start sharing points of view, different ways of seeing things. And it's like,
Yeah,
doesn't matter, it's not like one is right and one is wrong. It's just sharing the different points of view. And yet what you're sharing really resonates with my own experience. In fact, I just got done recording another show, literally about 20 minutes before I came on to talk with you, doing
yeah,
another show where I was talking with one of the guys that I was with clear back in, I think it was 2020, about 4 or 5 years ago. Myself and then another gentleman that we all miss and love, Christopher Carter. And we had this upper room experience where we were sharing something. And what it was is I had something I wanted to share with them. And it was similar to what you were just sharing there, that I had this vision, I had this encounter where You could say Holy Spirit. I'll call it Holy Spirit because I mean, I believe God gives us different ways to relate to Him. And the way I relate to Him is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I am totally convinced that He's so much more than that. But that's just how He's given to me to relate to Him. And I love it. It works for me. Anyway, so I see Holy Spirit coming up and she comes up and she stops right in front of me. By the way, I'm just floating in space. I'm floating in
Yeah.
outer space. It's total blackness. There's no stars or anything. And she comes up out of the distance and she stops right in front of me and she says, "Do you like it?" I'm like what? And she says, "It's yours." I'm like, so I'm kind of puzzled at the moment. That goes off into another story. But then she comes back around and she says, "This is your 300th mission, right?" I'm like, you talking about reincarnation? Which at the time I really didn't believe in reincarnation at that time. And she goes, "Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm not talking about reincarnation. I'm talking about God has infinite universes. He has infinite creations that He's created. And He has given you the opportunity to go experience this one. And as I'm experiencing this, everything I'm experiencing is like going up into the cloud. The cloud would be God. Your
Yeah.
experience, my experience, the blade of grass, the pen, every experience of everything is being uploaded to God. And so God
Right.
is getting this massive, massive experience of every star and every piece of dust. And, He's just got all of this experience that's being uploaded to Him. And we're a piece and a part of that, which is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. And I've described God as a mirror. At one time he was a mirror
Yeah.
and he fell and broke into a bazillion pieces. And we're all part of that mirror. We're separate, but yet we're part of the mirror.
Right.
And we're
Yeah.
each individual, in parts of
Yeah.
the broken glass, so to speak.
Yeah, and so I love this because again, it's like we're talking and looking at different points of view or different ways of seeing things. And the way that it was shown to me in a vision is I saw this massive scroll, just like a universal size scroll that was unrolling, and this was God. It was His story. And then out from the scroll comes a little bitty scroll. This is my story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. History, break that apart.
History.
His
Yeah.
story.
Right. Right. No, I love that. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, one of the things you were talking about is the breathing. Where did you pick that up? Where did you pick up the idea that breathing was important and had an effect on you?
Breathing.
Breath work and
Oh,
meditation.
oh. I mean, I've done a lot of research when I was growing, in my teenage
Mm-hmm.
years, and
Mm-hmm.
just resonated with me to. But yeah, that's great breath work. Now that you mention it, because I'm taking a deep breath in and I'm bringing energy in, and imagine, I start at my base chakra, which is red. So I bring it in, bring the energy in down to the chakra, right? And I imagine a spinning vortex, okay?
Yeah.
And so when I breathe out, I use the universal Om.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is great breath work, breathing in and breathing out. And I do that 10 times with each chakra, so it takes about an hour.
Oh,
And
wow.
I do that. I was doing it every day. I don't know, when I broke my last breakup of a relationship was the deepest, darkest, dark night of the soul that I've ever experienced.
Hmm.
And I was doing that every day for about 8 months for an hour a day. And when we get into the book, I'll tell you the story about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because again, the breath work, the meditations, the revelation, the chakras, the energy centers, though those are all things that I've heard bits and pieces, throughout my life, obviously, but it was in meditation that I just began to get downloads. And And one thing I find that is interesting is with the breath work, almost everybody out there that teaches breath work, they teach to breathe in through the nose. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the breath work I was given was it's more of a suddenly because it's a pattern break. And so it's a deep breath, that is a sudden breath in through the mouth, and it fills the diaphragm, fills the chest, and then fills the top of the head. And what I envision while I'm seeing that is starting at the root chakra. It's like bringing that breath in and all the way up to the top of the head, and then holding it for just a few seconds while it's in the head, and then blow it out the crown chakra. And it's just like
Yeah.
clearing these energy centers. And by clearing those, by the time you just get to the third breath and you hold it there, it's like all of your thoughts are being wiped out and cleared so that you can
Yeah.
enter into the void where you've got no attachments to the worldly things that distract you. And it's
Right.
very, very powerful.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's right, according to them,
Right? Yeah.
because they've been brought up a certain way. They've had certain, experiences and certain teachings and experiences. So that's what I say is everybody's right. So that just blows out every argument you could ever come
Yeah.
up with, because arguments are pointless anyway, because you're just arguing your point of view and telling the other person that your point of view is better than their point of view.
And it's just an ego trip.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I'm real curious though, how do you manage that thought with being a lawyer?
Well, I manage it because I just make my argument and then they make their argument and the judge makes a decision.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so I'm kind of out of it, really. That
Right.
puts me out of it. I
Yeah.
ask God to guide my words, thoughts, and actions before I go into a court. And, if I've got an argument or something, and it's
Hmm.
basically very informal.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even read the damn motions. I was in court a couple of days ago, and I filed all these damn motions, and I don't even think anybody ever read them. We just
Yeah.
go in and shoot the shit and in the judge's office and come up with a plan, and then the guardian ad litem writes the order, sends it to me and my client, and we approve it, and they send it to the judge. He signs it. It's a done deal. So
Not
yeah,
as
it's really
drama like as TV would make it be, huh?
not at all. Not at all. No, no.
Yeah. Well, so I think we got like 10 minutes on this public section left. Tell me, okay, a couple things. Tell everybody again how they can get a hold of you, how they can get the book. If they want to reach out and talk to you more, how would they do that? Let's start there and then,
Go to johntlong.com,
okay.
my website. It's
All
got
right.
both my books. I also travel around the country and I sell these crystal wands. Should have brought
I
one with me,
saw
but
those.
yeah.
I,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
saw
so
those
it's
at
got
Jenny's retreat. Those were pretty spectacular. Yeah.
yeah, and they're you know, I learned to make those from a Wiccan. There's a friend of mine a long time ago, back in like 2008ish,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw he had a wand. It had a crystal on the end of it, and so he told me how to make it, but I improved the design and wrapped mine in leather, and I put very powerful earth magnets. So I've alternated in a copper tube, which is conductive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've enclosed the copper tube with a very powerful earth magnet, alternating crystal, magnet, crystal, magnet, crystal. So it's a threefold energy system. You can use it for prayer and meditation by holding it in your left hand, brings energy in, um, and you can feel it. I mean, it took me days before I could even hold one for very long. I mean, I just have to put it down. That's how powerful they are.
Wow.
And they've each got their own unique personality because they got different crystals. Um, you know, and then hold it in the right hand amplifies and intensifies your intentions and connects with the magnetic and electrical field of whatever object it is you're trying to attract to you vis-a-vis the law of attraction.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
that's, you know,
the
that's it.
I love that. And again, so that's on your website, right? If anybody were
Yeah,
interested in this. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the thing I want to ask about, because I know there's going to be some of my listeners who are going to be a little shocked at the idea that you talked with somebody who was in Wicca. So what is your take on Wicca itself in terms of spiritual energy and because I know a lot of people are afraid of it. So
Yeah, well, that's just thanks to the, you know, Catholic Church, basically, and, you know, burning witches at the stake in Salem, Massachusetts, which, you know, witches are just basically, you know, they work with nature, and that's really about it, you know.
mhm, mhm.
They're not, they don't practice black magic. Um, I don't know if I really believe you can't influence somebody. I mean, that karma is going to come back on you.
Yeah,
So if you know, put a spell on somebody, you know, it's that's why the universe has karma. You can't escape that.
yeah,
There's no way. I
and I
mean,
think
the magicians out there trying to influence the world and, you know, putting all this stuff out in the open and saying, well, we told you, you know, about so and so we don't have any karma. Well, that's bullshit. But not only is it bullshit, but we play the parts.
yeah,
Okay. So maybe in a previous lifetime I played the bad guy.
hmm,
This time I'm the good. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
we're all just playing parts in a great big show.
yeah.
And,
And I think part of what I'm doing with my group, the Gathering, as well as here at the Pearl, is I'm looking for specifically three things that people have a heart of love, joy, and peace, and that love is meant to be unconditional. So I believe that the God of the universe, which I believe is the energy, the Christ consciousness, it's all one and the same thing. It's the fabric of the universe is love. And that is the mind and heart of Christ, of God. And Jesus Christ was not his last name. It was the energy and the anointing that he worked under that each and every one of us have the same power to work under.
yeah,
And so when we understand that God is that big and he's in control, everything is in him, and we get so bent out of shape when we let our fear take over. And when somebody does something differently than we would do it, we want to especially a certain group of people want to cast stones and hang, and crucify and burn at the stake those people that are different than them. When now,
right.
if someone's doing harm to somebody, if they're truly doing harm to somebody, yeah, I would want to bring that to a stop. But, like you said, for the most part, it's just a different way of doing things. And I know I'm going to get a lot of stones thrown at me online for even making that statement. But I would say, we need to give people the benefit of the doubt until we see their heart. And here's the thing. It's like you and I both know a person that in the circles that I used to run in, that person had she, shared who and what she does right up front, would have been crucified and cast out and thrown out. And yet I know that some of the same people that run in my circles who got to know her and then heard what she did, it was like, oh, that's interesting because they had developed a relationship. And that's the thing that most people today aren't willing to take the time to build a relationship with someone and get to know someone and actually hear their heart and hear them out as to why they believe and do what they do. And for the most part, I'm not saying it's across the board, but for the most part, people are good-hearted and they're all on a journey to find, they're all on their own spiritual journey. and
Right, exactly.
and as long as it's to me as long as it's a journey that is, going toward love and joy and peace, hey, we're on the same path.
Right. But you have to understand too that we have soul contracts.
Oh yeah.
So you know, um have you ever heard of Neil Donald Walsh and the Little Soul in the Sun? You
I
ever
don't
heard that
think I have.
story?
I don't
I
think I
put
have.
that in my second book, but it talks about, you know, God talking to all the spirits in heaven. It's a metaphor.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he goes, well, who wants to volunteer to go to Earth and, you know, um, be the good and the bad? And so they had these two volunteers, and the second volunteer said, "Oh well, no matter how much you treat me and hit me and beat me, I'm still going to love you unconditionally because I know who you really are."
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah,
That is really powerful.
it is. You need to read. You need to read
So
"The Little Soul in the Sun" by
so
Neil Donald Walsh.
okay, we'll
Yeah.
keep that in mind there. There's some other books, and I can't even think the name, but the fact is, there's a lot of shift of people moving to the idea that we chose to come here. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so we chose to come here, and yeah, so what you just shared makes a lot of sense. That
Without a doubt, because after this last breakup with this my fiance, I'll get into all the details later, but basically I was in a deep meditation after we broke up, and she never told me, why.
hmm
And I was in a deep, deep meditation, and a platform appeared in my mind, and she comes out on the stage and does a curtsy like great performance. And I found out later that we had all planned to come down here into these bodies, and it was a soul agreement between me, my soul mate, and my twin flame to meet and go through all this stuff so I could learn, I could experience unconditional love.
yeah.
And everything, every part of that relationship was perfectly orchestrated to where I learned unconditional love.
And that's the premise of my book, Choice, is that we're here to learn to love. And
Yeah.
so, we're not,
Experience. We are love. We
yeah,
don't learn it. We need to experience
remember
it,
it.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what the little soul in the sun does, is that it's all about the experience. I want to experience all the good, the bad, and the ugly,
And
because nothing really matters.
and
We're
that
eternal beings.
and that is so true, but it's such a hard concept to get across to some people because they get
It
so
is.
wrapped
It
up
is.
in the events. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this section here, and I'm just going to say to everybody, hey, if you want to see the entire show, John and I are going to keep going. And we got some really good rabbit holes to go down here. I'm excited. But the second half of the show, if you want to see it, go to either kingdomtalksmedia.com or gilhodgesfreedom.com, and you'll be able to get the second part of the show. It's a membership section, and that's for our partners who are helping to support this ministry. And so, if you are interested in learning more, hearing more about what we're talking about, go check those out, and look forward to seeing you over there. And I appreciate everybody who's been watching. Blessings to all of you. And John, thank you for doing this. And stick around, stay on, because we're going to just keep right on going here. But blessings to
Okay.
everybody, and we will see you
Yeah.
all next time.
Thanks.
Take care.